You're tuned to Mahindra XUV 3XO. That's right, the brand from India that's renowned for no-nonsense four-wheel drives like the Scorpio N, the workhorse pickup, and the family-friendly XUV 700 brings you this, the 3XO. This is its first foray into the small SUV field, and it's hoping to have its biggest hit yet. But can the 3XO dethrone cheap Chinese chartbusters like the Chery Tiggo 4 Pro, Haval Jolyon and MG My name is Byron Mathioudakis for CarsGuide.com.au, and I'm here to find out more. Let's go. Chunky, upright, and with a keen price tag to boot when it launches in Australia from mid-July, the 3XO has got a couple of surprises up its sleeve, including, well, let's get to that right now. Well, firstly, at the time this video dropped, pricing hadn't even been confirmed, but we have it on good instruction that the entry-level AX5L will start from around $25,000, putting it within striking distance of most Chinese small SUVs. Standard features will include keyless entry and start, synthetic leather trim, twin 10.2-inch display screens, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a surround view camera, dual-zone climate control, electric folding mirrors, roof rails, and these 16-inch alloys. Meanwhile, still under $30,000, the AX7L ushers in an inch larger wheel size, a panoramic sunroof, better audio, a chilled glove box, fog lights, front parking sensors, and a powerful 65-watt USB-C charge port. That's probably preferable to the missing wireless charger pad, but no DAB+ digital radio is an oversight. And while the Mahindra includes a decent wedge of advanced driver assist safety systems as standard, including autonomous emergency braking and lane support technologies, neither grade has rear cross traffic alert or a blind spot monitor, meaning the 3XO might struggle to achieve full marks when it's eventually tested by Australian or Euro NCAP. That said, it recently scored 5 stars in India's new, but less stringent, Bharat NCAP test, aided by extensive body strengthening and crash force mitigation engineering developed at Mahindra's world-class research and development centres in India. And there's still more safety development underway, ahead of next year's planned NCAP testing. And here's another surprise. If you're thinking that the 3XO might look a little bit familiar, your eyes aren't deceiving you. And that's because the 3XO is not as new as it looks, even though it's only been on sale in India since 2024. It's actually based on the 2018 SsangYong Tivoli that was built in India a couple of years after that as the XUV 300 series. Now, Mahindra says that it's probably 80% new, with a whole lot of new sheet metal, clothing, the bare bones of the original model. So it's been upgraded with very modern styling cues, such as these LED lighting elements. They're quite clean and sharp nose treatment, which shows off the brand's new Twin Peaks logo. And if you come around the side, these blacked out wheel arch mouldings accentuate the fact that this has 201 millimeters of ground clearance, which is actually pretty much best in class at this price point. Much higher, in fact, maybe 10 to 20% higher than most of its rivals. 16 or 17-inch wheels, depending on which ones you choose, which model you choose, as well as the typical blacked out floating roof concept. And if you move around the back here, it's got very clean and modern surface finishes. So the XUV 3XO is quite a handsome and chunky looking small SUV. And it looks like it's got the enough ground clearance and just a stance to handle the rough and tumble of city driving. But let's check in with the interior to see some more changes. So come with me, will you? This way. Mahindra reckons that even though this is only 4 meters long overall, it's got the space and the practicality of an SUV up to 4.7 meters overall in length, which sounds dubious, but when you jump into this car, you're struck by how much space you do have, and that's actually demonstrated by the fact that even though this has a sunroof, I've got ample headroom above me. Lots of hip space, deep glass area, so vision's quite good, an excellent driving position, and of course, there's this all-new dash, which features surround view cameras, as well as Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, which is wireless, cup holders, that sort of thing. Probably the only thing that I dislike about this is that the steering wheel, though it adjusts for height, does not adjust for reach. But other than that, comfy seats, lots of storage, excellent air conditioning, and I can attest to that being here in 40-degree heat in India, and rear air vents, USB ports, and lots of space to move out back as well, mark this as a sensible second family car proposition. And the boot also is fairly large as well, aided by quite a low floor and a large hatch. And bonus, you get a space saver spare wheel, so no stupid tyre repair kit for this particular small SUV. It might be tiny and down a cylinder compared to its Asian rivals, but Mahindra's in-house 1.2 litre 3-pot turbo petrol engine follows European downsizing convention, relying on advanced technologies to produce comparatively healthy yet efficient power and torque outputs. Driving the front wheels is a Toyota-made 6-speed torque converter automatic, so no droney CVTs or laggy dual-clutch transmissions here. We're disappointed the 6-speed manual gearbox offered elsewhere isn't available in Australia though. Anyway, there's much made about how strong and rigid the 3XO's platform is, and it's not just for better crash protection. Aided by a McPherson-style strut front and twist beam rear suspension setup, Mahindra reckons it has dialed in just the right amount of dynamic finesse to make this small SUV the keen driver's choice. To find out if that's the case, we spent a couple of hours behind the wheel of one at Mahindra's vast proving ground facility near Chennai on a very, very hot day. Okay, I'm behind the wheel of the 3XO, and I gotta admit I was skeptical at first, only because it was based on the old Tivoli, the old SsangYong Tivoli that debuted towards the end of last decade. So it's got some miles under its belt. But you know, evolution really has played a big part in making this a very intriguing drive because well, let's start with the engine. The 1.2 litre 3-cylinder turbo petrol unit is pretty punchy on the line. It's got a quite an evocative 3-pot thrum, and around here at least, it feels quite eager. We managed to max it out at almost 170 kilometers an hour on the speed bowl in this closed proving ground, which I do not recommend anyone do at home, but it felt absolutely stable and fine. The steering seems a tad light and a little bit disconnected at really low speeds, like at parking speeds. But once you get going, it seems to weigh up nicely, kind of in the way that Volkswagens used to, like Golfs did in the, 20 years ago, that sort of thing. So this is not going to be the sort of SUV you buy if you absolutely relish driving, because that's what cars like the Mazda CX-3 or the very sadly departed Ford Puma are all about. But instead, it's fine. We never got a chance to test the suspension's ride quality, but over the couple of bumps that we did encounter here, it seemed to soak them up well. And even though this car doesn't have a rear parcel shelf, which apparently is an option, or will be an option in Australia, there's not too much road or tyre noise booming through, so it's a fairly quiet car as well. I like the fact that it's quite dependable and it corners well, and it's quite an enjoyable drive. It's not a drag. It doesn't sound like it doesn't sound too coarse or strained or anything like that. I think that for what it is and where its projected price will be, it's properly specified and engineered. We just hope that the pricing is spot on, because if it is, this would certainly be a contender for one of the better small SUVs on the market. I guess all those years of building the old XUV 300 and the SsangYong Tivoli have ironed out all the bugs and made this a pretty good proposition. The official Australian combined fuel consumption average is 6.5 litres per 100 kilometres. With a 42 litre tank, that should equate to around 640 kilometres of range between refills. Just keep in mind that it does drink from the 95 RON premium unleaded petrol Bowser. And also that, while a 7-year warranty is excellent news for most buyers, a 150,000 kilometre cap when most other brands have unlimited mileage might fall a bit short for some prospective buyers. Still, it is clear that Mahindra has worked really hard to ensure that its first small SUV ever sold in Australia ticks as many of the essential boxes as possible. And in the face of largely cheap yet disappointing rivals out there, buyers should at the very least tune into what this dinky and charming little runabout has to offer. You might end up being pleasantly surprised. So, what do I make of the Mahindra XUV 3XO? Well, in our first taster here in India, I'm very impressed by its packaging, its refinement, the fact that it drives really well around the high-speed bowl, and that it is easy to maneuver. We won't know the final price for another few weeks, but we understand that it will be around the mid-$20,000 mark, and the high-spec version with the sunroof and the larger alloys and all that sort of stuff, well, that will be under $30,000 as well. So it's a very promising start. You can read more about the Mahindra XUV 3XO at carsguide.com.au, and as always, thanks for watching.